heard me.
Yes.
I am in love with you. And I know that love is just a shout into the void, and that oblivion is inevitable, and that we're all doomed, and that one day all of our labors will be returned to dust. And I know that the sun will swallow the only earth we will ever have. And I am in love with you. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Rachel. This is Yarn Y'all, and I'm your host for this channel. Anyway, we're here to talk about the stuff I've made. So it's been a while since I've checked in, and I really don't even know what we talked about last time. I don't really like watching myself on camera, and I know since my last published video, there have actually been at least 2 attempts to make a podcast. Hopefully, 3rd time's the charm, and not only will I film the whole thing, but I'll edit it and get it up for you guys. So hopefully, you know, this makes it public. But let me get started with the things that I've finished, things that I'm currently working on. So the first thing that I've finished like most recently is the Sanna Cardigan. This is a pattern by Rebecca Clow. I love watching her podcast. She is a prolific knitter. She's actually just like hit some life milestones, and I'm very excited for her for those. I'm like, babies one day maybe, but you know, I know a lot of people are choosing not to do that. I waited, and I would say don't wait too long, girls, ladies, women. If you want children, do it. They are work, but they are worth all of the work, because my daughter is such a joy to me. So anyway, enough about that. The Sanna Cardigan, I'm actually gonna just put a picture up here of the finished object. I was making this for my sister-in-law, and I have not been knitting for very long, just over a year now, and this was my 2nd or 3rd lace pattern, but this was all over lace, as you can see in the photo, and I got it all finished probably like 3 weeks ago, and after I washed and blocked it, I realized that the sleeves were like an inch different, an inch and a half, and that doesn't sound like very much, but on a garment, on an article of clothing, like that really makes a difference between something that you keep versus something that you return. So I couldn't possibly give that to her. I wouldn't ever wear something like that, and I just knew like that wasn't gonna work. So I finally, once I determined that I did need to redo it, I said, you know what, we'll worry about the sleeves later. So we went and did the button band. We did all of the finishing except for those sleeves. And then I took it to my sister-in-law, Beth, who is like the nicest person you will ever meet and the sweetest person, very knitworthy. And I said, okay, so which sleeve do you like better? And she picked the bigger one, which was good because I kind of wasn't sure how I was gonna accomplish the tighter, smaller one. Hindsight, I realized that I'm pretty sure I just knit that first sleeve that was smaller and tighter on a smaller needle, and so of course it would be incorrect in terms of the fit on it. And so when I checked the pattern for the 2nd sleeve, I followed the actual instructions and, you know, met gauge and all of that. But needless to say, it is done. I did not track how long it was on the needles just because of those interruptions. Also, when I was like knitting the lace motif in the body, I definitely made mistakes in that portion too, and had to like pull back probably this much and reknit it all. I'm pretty sure that was about 6 inches of knitting. Thankfully, the pattern is a thicker yarn. I want to say it's a number 5, so maybe like a worsted, or I'm pretty sure it's a worsted or an Aran yarn. I just used Hobby Lobby. I love this wool. It's 100% natural wool. Nothing special or crazy to write home about, but with this being all over lace with my sister-in-law, although she's very slim and petite, she's 6 feet tall. And so she's got long arms, long torso. So like it was going to be a lot. And so I knew that I'm just not in a place to be buying, you know, however many balls of yarn that you need in a ball of yarn that is going to be like $10, $15, $20. And I love this wool. It's a much less expensive, more economical option. And I also figured that if somebody's helping her with laundry and the cardigan gets tossed into the laundry. Like, okay, that's $30 worth of yarn instead of like $130 worth of yarn. So anyway, overall, I am pretty satisfied with the finished object. I cannot wait to actually get it into her hands. Hopefully I'll be able to share pictures of that, like of her wearing it too. But I'm just thrilled to have it done, and I am thrilled with the way that it turned out. I will say that I made the 3rd size, and it fits my sister-in-law, but it is very fitted. And so I'm wondering if I knitted the body in also the wrong needle, and so that's why it's so tight in the torso. Again, she's happy with the way it fits, especially now that I've like fixed the arms and everything. But I will say, just make sure that you're checking your sizes, make sure that you don't do something crazy like I did and knit up a whole sleeve with the wrong needles. One other thing I want to say about this is I know a lot of us newer knitters maybe perhaps prefer a top-down construction, and I get all of the reasons to do that. However, the wonderful thing about the way that Rebecca Clow wrote this pattern is it is a bottom up, and then you work the sleeves wrist up as well. And I did my best to like match the lace motif so it's fairly matching arms versus torso. But the benefit of starting at the bottom and working your way up is that all of your shaping happens as you hit that underarm area. And same thing with the sleeves, like there's a lot more going on in sleeves, decreases and increases and that kind of thing. And so to be able to just work flat this much, I mean, that's probably 14 inches or so. That really made me a lot more confident and able to understand what I was doing when I would make a mistake, or if I had to like knit backwards or frog a portion, I could see where I had made errors and then was able to fix them. The other thing is that by the time I got up to the end of the sleeves, I could read my stitches, and as a newer knitter, especially with lace, I think it is a fairly simple lace pattern, but it just gave me a lot more confidence to be like, oh, I know what I'm doing. And by the time I made that sleeve for the 3rd time, I didn't have to look at the pattern at all. So that felt really good. But yeah, that's the Sanna Cardigan by Rebecca Clow, made for my sister-in-law, Beth. Amazing woman, and I'm so glad to have finished that for her. So the next item that we have, let me pause and I'll get it together for you. Okay, so the next project I want to tell you guys about is actually another finished object. However, this pattern actually gives tons and tons of options for modifications or ways that you can personalize it, and so I am going to go back in and personalize it to a greater extent. So here's a picture of me wearing the Sommerknus in a finished object photo, and as you can see in some of these photos, it is oversized and a bit off the shoulder at the moment, and so I am going to go back in and pick up the stitches along the neck and do a collar neckline type situation. To give you an idea, I am 5.5 feet tall and about 130 pounds, and I knitted the 2nd size in this item because I wanted to be sure that it was going to fit me, and I thought I was just going based on my measurements. However, I made this in a cotton wool blend. It's about 50-50, not quite, but it's close enough to 50-50 that I thought that despite it being cotton, that the wool would still help it like shrink up some. It didn't do that despite blocking, despite actually tossing it in the washer and dryer for a little bit. Like none of that caused any fluctuation in size. So on the one hand, that's good because, you know, I don't have to worry about this garment ever like shrinking up on me too much. On the other hand, it does mean that I have to go back in and add that neck because I think it's really cute, but I'm super functional, and so like I love the long fringe. I could not do that because then I'd constantly be brushing hair out of my face. Same thing with an off the shoulder article. I can't do that because I'm going to constantly be pulling my clothes up. Plus, my 1-year-old likes to pull on my clothes. I mean, even just wearing a necklace today, I had to hide it in my t-shirt so she wouldn't pull on it. And so, this Sommerknus short sleeve version is finished. I made it with Lazy Wool by About Strings. Taylor from the Wool Needles Hands podcast made that yarn like super popular, and I had bought it in Rainforest Green. And when It's a Sarah from It's a Sarah's podcast talked about the Sommerknus, I loved hers. It was stunning on her, and I thought, I really want that. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll make that. And I'll make it in green because I can never find green clothing, and I really want more green shirts in my wardrobe. So I cast that on at the beginning of October, and it was done on my birthday, right at the very end of October. Ends woven in, I finished blocking it, and the first time I wore it, it was just falling off this way and that. And so I said, okay, we're gonna go back in, pick up stitches, and knit a neckline some more. So that will be modified. Hopefully I'll have more pictures to show you guys when it's done, but for now, I can wear it out in public, and so I'm counting it as done. It's like a date night item rather than an everyday item. And so, okay, so the next work in progress that I've got going for y'all, and we're going out of order, but the work in progress that has been on the needles for the longest is the Cozy Hubby sweater or pullover, I believe. And the reason why I wanted to make this is it has this really cool like cowl turtleneck. This is Dozer making an appearance. But this I am knitting for my husband Luke, who is also very knitworthy. Excuse me. And this project is done in a fingering weight yarn. It is just the Knit Picks Northstar, I want to say it's Northstar Kettle dyed. And the cool thing about these kettle dyed yarns that Knit Picks does is it's got like a core color, and then you have lighter tones and darker tones within that same color, I guess. So it's a degrees of saturation is I think maybe the way I would describe it. It did turn out a little bit like stripey. I feel like this could be very much Navy camo. Navy, like the branch of the military here in the US. Their camo for, you know, if you're at sea. This pattern I feel like is really a labor of love because it is fingering weight and because there are several portions where you are doing double knitting. As a newer knitter, I didn't really know what double knitting was and didn't know to be intimidated by it. So I was like, sure, I'll try that. So you have like these sleeve cuffs here that are double knit, and I really do like that because if you think about it, your sleeves are gonna get a lot more wear and tear and a lot more just friction against them compared to like maybe another part of your body. And so I like that the sleeves cuffs are double knitted. The cowl portion as well is double knitted, and it's kind of crazy. You actually need 2 sets of circulars to do this portion because of the way that these cowl bits overlap. And I'm probably on row 8 of the double knitting, and I think I've got close to 50 rows left. However, we live in Texas. We don't go into cool climates very often, and so I was talking to my husband about it the other day, and I thought, you know, I'm not trying to quit or anything because I have plenty of yarn for this, but realistically, there's already just a very narrow window in which he could wear this. And so by making that cowl neck as tall as the pattern calls for, I'm concerned that he won't ever have the opportunities to wear this because we don't live in Germany, we don't live in Ireland or Scotland or Canada. Like, it's Texas, and if we're known for 2 things, it's cowboy hats and hot weather. And so I need to revisit the pattern to figure out exactly you know, what this will look like if I cut the pattern short, but I am very excited to report that this is all that's left. So I have like a lifeline in here at the bottom because when I started in the hem, I wasn't completely sure that this was the right length. I didn't have the person here to try it on, and so I just said, okay, we'll just, you know, see what we can do. We'll put the lifeline in, knit that ribbing, and then, you know, worst case scenario, if I do have to rip it back out, I still got that lifeline. So I'm actually at a stage where I can pull out the lifeline. I can tie in a lot of these ends that are dangling all over the place. I just need to finish this neckline and this thing will be done. And if you'll hang on, I'll try it on for you guys, on me. So if you guys don't watch Jackie is Making, she's another YouTuber, and she recently did a video where she's wearing something that she made for her husband too. And I was just like, girl, that looks so cute on you. Like, I hope you steal that out of your guy's closet. And I think she is just kind of like, had just finished it, and so she was feeling a little bit of like, about it, but it looked amazing, and I'm all for borrowing your husband's clothes, especially if they look this cute on you. So this is the way that the cowl looks right now. I've got like all these needles all over the place, so I don't know how well you can see, but so I'm thinking I might just kind of finish up the ball of yarn that I've got and call it good as far as length up here on the neck. I have quite a little bit of yarn left for this particular ball, so I do foresee myself knitting quite a bit more before I'm actually truly done with the neckline. But I would say don't be intimidated by double knitting. It does take a long time to show progress, so if you're knitting things for a YouTube channel, you will probably feel dissatisfied about double knitting because you're doing a lot of work for not a lot of like row progress. However, the way that double knitting feels is just feels so polished, so professional. This feels like a high-end purchase rather than just something that I've made. So I really like that. Don't be intimidated by fingering weight items as well, because at the end of the day, you know, if you live in a climate like mine, that might all really be like the only material you can work with and wear comfortably. And I think a lot of us do knit for the item, but I also think that there's some degree of knitting for the fact that we are doing a slow hobby. And so, you know, is the tortoise in the hare? Be the tortoise, make the thing that's slow and that you'll get more wear out of. At least that's what I keep telling myself. So this is the Cozy Hubby sweater pullover, and I think it's called a pullover. I've added a couple of different, like, just minor things here. Underneath the arm, I have these little chevrons just out of a purl stitch to help me keep track of my decreases on this. And I'm stoked for this to be done so that he can wear it. I do think it'll still be a while, but the good news is that we're in an El Nino winter here in Texas, and so it's not like, you know, oh, we're having all this cold weather and he's not able to wear it. Like, he might not even be able to wear it until next year, if I'm being honest. So anyway, this is the Cozy Hubby. It has been on the needles for at least a year, or no, at least 6 months, not a full year. It's been a while. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Okay, I don't know that I've ever talked about this pattern on the podcast before, so if I have, I apologize. It's, like I said, been so long since I've really seen what I've uploaded, and also just because I filmed and talked to a camera about it doesn't mean that YouTube saw what I was talking about. So if I haven't talked about this yet, this is the Quiet Book crochet pattern. It's available on Ravelry. Crochet is really nice because it just works up so fast. The other thing that's really nice about crochet that I am experiencing a little bit of disappointment with in my knitting is I knit garments and I crochet items. And so a garment, if one sleeve is shorter than the other one, like, it's a problem. A garment is supposed to fit a certain way, or when you're thinking about it and you're making it, you have a goal of how this item is supposed to be in relation to a human body. Whereas crochet, especially objects, if your doll is, you know, 3 centimeters tall, or sorry, 3 inches tall, like that's fine. And if it's 6 inches tall, like that's fine too. It's a doll, and so it's no big deal if your gauge is off, if things didn't turn out the way that you quite hoped it would. There's, in my opinion, it's just a lot more forgiving in many ways than knitting garments is. But I also appreciate knitting garments because, one, you really get to customize the item that you're getting, and two, like the drape of a knit versus the drape of crochet is just very different. And I prefer a more like chic, polished look if I'm going to make something for myself, and I can't really achieve that with crochet. I feel like crochet, you get a lot more of that boho, free spirit, girly, and nothing against that, but that's just not as much my style, and so I don't feel very confident when I've worn the items I've crocheted. All that being said, Quiet Book. So this is the cover of the Quiet Book, and well, I'll try to post a picture here from the Ravelry, but there's a little like helicopter, and I will say that I think I actually am the first person to post anything in Ravelry of like a progress photos or anything. So I don't know if this designer has ever sold any of their patterns, or if it's just me. It might just be me, but I do feel like they made some really poor choice. Not poor, I would not have chosen the colors that they chose. And so the nice thing about when you make your own things is that you can customize it. And so like they had like a red helicopter on the front, and mine is going to be green. This is going to look so much better when it's not being like held up and there's like not strings all over the place, because that's the thing, is I've like made all the items, I plan to steam them all and then sew everything together, but there's a lot of gratification in just like, oh, the helicopter's done, put that in the bag of crochet things. Oh, the first page is done, put that in the bag of things. And so I am actually working on the 4th page right now. So this is page number 2. I'm not giving anything away. Like all the pages are shown in the pattern photos before you even purchase. But this is like the 2nd pattern page, and it's supposed to have a car and a little stoplight on it. And the cool thing about this is it's made for children, and so you can. It's an interactive toy, so you can drive your little car along, and there's going to be like right over here a stoplight. I've already made all the pieces for that, and so it's just kind of cool that my baby, and maybe any future babies, my child, will have a thing that she can play with while we're in the car, or if we're ever having to go someplace, doctor's appointment, what have you. There we've got part of the train, there's the other part, and it actually kind of does look like a train. So I'm not gonna lie, the pictures and the photos online, like, just, I don't think it looks like a train. And then page number 4 is in progress. So one of the big reasons why I like this particular project is that it is fairly straightforward, single crochet back and forth. And again, I'm not giving anything away. If you crochet, you can tell that. I'm also making this portion of the pattern easier for myself because this is water and a sunset, and there's gonna be like a giant boat that covers all of this. And so the pattern actually calls for like a squiggly wave portion. I was like, why would I do all that complicated crochet color work if none of it's gonna be showing? Because the boat's gonna, like, it sits right here in the water, and it comes up above, like it takes up most of the page, to be honest. So there's gonna be a steamboat on this page in this beautiful red. How would I describe this red? I lost the label, so I can't even tell you what the real color is. Wonderful. So I'm excited with these color combos that I've picked, and this is kind of like a match memory game, so I even have more liberty in terms of color choices when it comes to finishing up that page number 4. This book has 8 pages, including the front and back, and so I'm very excited, 1, to have it so that my daughter can play with it, and 2, so that I can modify it and make it the way that my aesthetics are and what like my preferences are. So yeah, that is the Quiet Book. I don't remember the name of the designer. So all of the stuff that I'm talking about can also be found in my Ravelry. I am not the best about keeping my Ravelry updated, but I do occasionally go in and update each of my projects. Okay, the last WIP that I want to share is actually a very new cast on. And I feel like some people would say new cast on and they've got like just a little yarn mustache. And then other people would say new cast on and they've got like half a sweater. This is fingering weight. So this is less than a week on my needles. And I feel like this is pretty good progress. So this is Knit Picks Stroll. I am using the color Duchess. And what's this green color? I actually have it sitting here with me so I can tell you. Maybe I can't. Aurora Heather. Yeah, so it's this beautiful green. I hope this actually looks good next to my skin and doesn't wash me out, because that's the one thing I realized with the rainforest. I'm like, maybe I don't own a lot of green because green doesn't look good on me. I don't know. But I really wanted a green and purple top. And this is, if I didn't already say, it's the Dingley Dell. It's a relaxed fit V-neck t-shirt. And I am knitting the second size of this. It is worked flat in this portion, so you're knitting and purling. And when you get into the body and the finish up the V-neck portion, then you're working in the round. It's a top-down construction. I've just now added in for my stripe. And this pattern is extremely thorough. It's extremely well thought out, and there's a lot of what I'm going to call mile markers. And so what I mean by that is it says, you know, knit this portion and then repeat rows 10 and 11, and then depending on your size, it's like repeat rows 10 and 11 4 times, 8 times, 12 times, whatever it is, right? Depending on your size. And then when you finish that section, there's a mile marker that says you should have this many stitches for the front, for the arms, for the back at this point. And so then you're not getting confused about, well, did I knit that 3 times or did I knit it 4 times? Because you can literally just count the stitches on your marker or on your needles. If you're not great at reading your stitches as a newer knitter, that's something that like I've learned. Anyway, I've really talked a lot, and so let me just tell you guys one other thing that I have in my hopes for the next couple of months, things that I want to make. This swatch, and it is not pretty, so please don't be too judgy. This is a just early swatch of the Lindy Chain yarn by Knit Picks. Are we noticing a theme here? I shop at Hobby Lobby and Knit Picks. You know, the thing is you can buy yarn so much faster than I can use it up. But this is Lindy Chain. A couple of months ago when I bought yarn for some other projects, I thought I just really want to try this. It seems like it's beautiful yarn. It is silk and linen, and I really like the idea of owning more linen items living here in Texas. And so I bought this yarn and thought, okay, well, I'll swatch, and then when I figure out what I am gonna need size-wise and yarn meterage-wise, then I can go ahead and order all of my yarn in the same dye lot at another time, potentially when it's on sale. And so, because this 50-gram ball, although it's fingering weight, is less yarn than a typical fingering weight yarn because it is linen, which is a significantly heavier material than wool. And so I think this is only like 128 meters, compared to like 200 that you would get in the same 50 grams if it was pure wool. So anyway, I'm waiting for this to go on sale again because I don't want to buy like 6 balls of this at $7 a piece. So I heard that they do a Thanksgiving sale, so I'm kind of hoping for that. But this is going to become, when I order all the yarn for it, the Marigold tee. And this is a really neat construction for a shirt. So there's going to be a picture over here. And this pattern is not worked top down and is not worked bottom up. It is worked sideways, so which I think is cool. I do believe that you actually make your first panel and then you make your back panel and then potentially you seam it together. I'm tempted to maybe crochet it together if that's going to be the case. I'm not exactly sure because I haven't read through all the pattern details, but I think I saw that you do seam it together. So this pattern, their sample photo is green and like a beige, off-white kind of cream color, and natural. We'll go with natural. And I just thought how romantic to do a red and black. And so I have this red lindy chain, and then this black 100% linen cone. This is from Lucy's Linen, I believe. And this thing is heavy. Like, if you break into my house, I might be coming after you with a cone of yarn. I'm just kidding. But it is a lot of yarn. It is, I think, meant for more industrial applications with it being on the spool and everything. I previously have worked with this brand in their 1-ply, and this is the 4-ply, so you're getting less meterage or yardage out of this compared to the white linen that I had used, which was the 1-ply. But I do think that this will be a little bit easier to work with. I don't know. Yeah, you can kind of see the strands there. I think that this will be a lot of, I don't know that it's going to be fun because linen doesn't really have very much stretch. It's pretty unforgiving in that way, but I think it's going to be stunning. Like, I would love to have a vertical striped shirt in these colors, and the lace is stunning. So I'm just super excited for this. This is definitely one of those things where we're not casting on anything for quite some time. Hell, I don't even have the yarn to do this, but a girl can get excited about her plans, right? So one day you guys will see the Marigold tee, and it's going to be wonderful. So if you're still here, thank you for sticking around.